I'm going to show you how to screw up a perfectly good recruitment business so that you don't have to learn the lessons for yourself. Before I get into the rest of the story that I'm going to tell you, which is filled with fascinating life lessons, do remember to hit the subscribe and the notify button down there, the little bell, which means that you'll automatically get a notification of when the next video is coming up, so that you don't miss out on any of the good stuff that's to come. So let me explain the process by which I built my recruitment business and then effectively blew it up and recovered again, so that you don't have to learn all these lessons for yourself. So I started, as I mentioned, my own business, my own sales training business back in August 1992. So I'm not sure when you're going to be watching this, but I'm recording it in mid-June 2022. So I'm coming up on the 30th anniversary of running my own businesses. That sales training business grew, blossomed, did very nicely, thank you. We got to the point where we were training, give or take, about 20,000 people a year in all sorts of industries. We were dealing with IT, media sales, engineering, logistics, commercial insurance broking, all sorts of things. But all the way through that period, always one of our top three industries was recruitment, and a particularly heavy emphasis in the early days on executive search. Time goes on, we come to the 2000s, everything's going great. We're doing seminars every couple of weeks with 400 or 500 people in every event, and things are going brilliantly. And we're dealing with a lot of recruitment companies. We're dealing with, I'm not going to name names, but we're dealing with most of the companies you've heard of, and some of the companies that became the companies you've now heard of. We were dealing in executive search, we were dealing with tech recruitment, we were dealing in high street and contracts, we were dealing in engineering, financial sectors, almost every sector you can think of. And as we came into the previous recession in 2008, when the financial crash happened, one of the sort of strategic decisions were taken was that in addition to recruitment, we were going to be focusing on commercial insurance broking. We were training effectively commercial insurance brokers, the account executives, on sales skills. And that was a great piece of synergy, because both recruitment and commercial insurance broking tend to do reasonably well through the recession. They either thrive or they don't crash as much as most other sectors. So it was a deliberate plan to focus in those particular areas. And purely by chance, we didn't actually have any clients who were working in the commercial broking sector. We had clients who were dealing with underwriters, they were dealing with reinsurers, they were dealing with actuarial areas, all sorts of stuff like that, but nobody, purely by coincidence, that was dealing with commercial insurance brokers. So we were training some very large brokers, doing a lot of very in-depth work. We were analysing sales processes, and we came up with a totally bespoke sales process for our clients. Things were great. And as we came into 2008, one of our clients, I was going to say they started flirting with us. We started flirting with each other. You know how these things are, the commercial flirtation dance. And lo and behold, they wanted to recruit 100 account execs, which are, to you and me, they'd be salespeople. And if you're in insurance broking and you're not entirely comfortable with that description, then you should probably be doing more sales. But they're effectively salespeople and account managers. And they were talking to us and say, well, look, you know insurance broking really well. We went, yeah. He said, you know what account executives should be like. Yeah. So, and you know a lot of recruitment companies. Yeah. Well, who should we be working with? And I could put my hand on my heart and say, well, honestly, none of our clients are in that sector. And it didn't take long before it became fairly clear to both of us that the obvious answer was for us to set up a search firm recruiting account executives. Cut a long story short, we started a search firm with an exclusive contract for 100 account execs on a fixed fee, £800,000 of billings year one from a standing start. Retainer up front, and all we had to do was build a firm that could actually deliver that from a standing start. And I guess that's the first lesson, which is sometimes starting out with a big bang ain't necessarily the best idea. So we didn't have the wherewithal. As entrepreneurs, what we should have done was partner with somebody and let them do the delivery, and we would manage the client relationships. But we were a bit too heavy with the ego, and we thought, no, we can improve on things. And to be fair, we had some good ideas. We were pretty much innovators in terms of developing the 180 degree recruiting process. One person handles the candidates, another person handles the clients. That was innovative at the time. And we had a lot of sort of good processing and good training systems in place. Now, we had to start delivering fast. Again, what we should have done is bring in experienced recruiters and fine-tune them so that their existing skills fit with the model that we believed would deliver better, and sort of, test it and develop it between us. But what we did instead, because we'd been running a sales training firm which had been highly successful in training recruiters, we thought we would recruit total rookies, train them in our way of doing things, and bring business in that way. And in our defence, we had a pretty good outcome. About 80% of the people that we brought on as total rookies actually delivered profitably and were highly effective in what they were doing, which isn't a bad result. And to help us do that, we partnered with somebody who I'd known for years as a recruitment professional. They were really good in recruitment, and we thought that it'd be a great fit because, we were so alike. Never partner with somebody who's like you. Always find somebody who's different to you but has complementary skills and different approaches. So what we've got is me, my long-standing business partner, and our new partner in the recruitment business, and we've all got very similar views and attitudes and approaches. We're not refining our ideas, we're not sharpening ideas within ourselves by picking holes in our own arguments, by saying, no, that's just plain wrong, that's stupid, that's your ego talking. So we partner with somebody who's really good, really nice guy, really effective, great recruitment consultant, wrong person for us to partner with. And we did pretty well. We didn't get to the 100 in year one. We got to the 100 by the end of about month 15, which is still 800 grand first 15 months. Not bad, perfectly okay. And that was effectively me personally running all of the client side. So effectively I had a desk of 800 grand with the rest of the business supporting me, bringing in the candidates, managing the candidate process, all that sort of good stuff. And, that was pretty effective. Obvious at a fairly early date that it wasn't sustainable. So we brought other people in to start managing the client side. All good. And the client's happy and things are going on. Lovely. What we then get is a couple of years on, we've reached an inflection point where, in terms of that particular sector, we're making a pretty big noise. And, big fish, small pond. And what then happens inevitably is that some of the firms that we are recruiting from for our major clients came to us and said, look, what about recruiting for us? You're obviously doing a damn good job for this client company. And we went to our client and said, look, you'll have first refusal. Would you have a problem if we recruit for some of your competitors, some of your colleagues in the industry with candidates that you haven't taken up on? They went, not really, no, it doesn't cause us any headaches. So we started to recruit for 3 or 4 other large firms. Net result being we were pretty much exclusive, not entirely, but pretty much exclusive recruiters for the top 5 firms in the industry for their account executives. This is the inflection point. What we didn't do was to go, okay, we are an £800 gorilla in this small sector. Let's go into some other sectors or even other industries or other specialisms within insurance and expand into those areas, expand into different teams. Oh no, what we did was go, oh, we're an £800 gorilla in this sector. Let's dig in deeper. And inevitably, 2 things happened. The first was the industry starts consolidating. So company A buys company B and company AB buys company C, which means that there are fewer and fewer companies for us to recruit from. So our candidate pool is getting smaller and smaller. At the same time as the client company is going, hang on, we've got all these new account execs from the people we've bought. We should consolidate what we're doing rather than hiring 100 new account execs every year. So let's hang on, take a step back. So the net result from that was we dug into this specialism at the same time as we ran out of candidates or reduced pool of candidates and reduced demand from the client side. So we successfully got through the horrible recession in 2008 to 2009-10, only to have our own little niche recession as we go into this. It was awkward, it was horrible. Fortunately for us, some new players came into the market from the States. They wanted to go gangbusters. They got some contracts with banks and all sorts of good stuff. And that enabled us to gear up again for another couple of years. But it was never quite the same. It was never as successful as it should have been. So, we gradually started to, as people left naturally, we didn't replace them. And, the company sort of wear itself down a little bit. Because alongside all this happening, we made the classic fast growth business mistake of forgetting that cash is king. Now, in our case, we were regularly billing. That was great. That was grand, no problem at all. But with our top 3 clients, because they were in the same sector and they were run by similar sort of situations, what we'd got was a 3-person sign-off in all those companies. So HR, the local director, branch director or branch MD, and the chief exec all had to sign off on an invoice, which then got paid in 7 days. Happy days. Unfortunately, with 3 people needing to sign off, it would quite often be 6 to 8 weeks before they were all able to sign off. Holidays, business commitments, travel, doing acquisitions, all sorts of stuff like that. So, yes, we get paid in 7 days after the invoice was passed, but that still meant that instead of getting paid in 7 to 21 days we were expecting, we were getting paid in 45, 60. Cash is always king, particularly when you're growing fast. And we knew that. We weren't novices. We weren't even particularly young. We knew that was the case, but we just were stupid. There's no way around it. We were dumb. So all this comes to pass. The industry reconsolidates, and we take a look at it and go, we haven't got the desire or the capacity to go sideways into these other sectors now. We had our chance at that inflection point. We're 18 months, 2 years on, and we've missed the boat. So what we ended up doing was selling that particular business. And that was great. The firm that bought it are very happy. Everything's grand. They took our systems, they took our sales approaches, they took a lot of our techniques, and they did great with it. And, I'm sure they're very happy. So why haven't I got a happy face on? Because if we had done one of two things, if we'd either sold when we were at the height, in which case we'd have sold for probably 4 times, maybe 5, what we actually got for the business, or if we diversified, as we absolutely knew that we should have done, either we'd still be running that business, or more likely we'd have sold for an even bigger sum. Now, don't get me wrong, not complaining, because what we did do was sell that business. We'd always been licensing the intellectual property for the sales training. So companies will pay us a fixed amount every year, depending on how many people they were training, and they would go out and train their own staff with it, and that carried on. And in fact, we still get quite a few checks each year for that, which is lovely. Thank you very much. All we have to do is update the training, the content based on the new research we've done and the new lessons we've learned and that sort of thing. So that's all good. And having been in that business for 6 years, I guess, 6 years, nearly 7, and having been in the sales training business, frankly, we were tired, and we just thought, you know what, let's just go sideways, do something completely different. So by that point, we were living in the south of Spain. Actually, we've been living in the south of Spain pretty much since we started the recruitment business. And that was one of the other mistakes we made, which was that we tried to rely on IT to give us the ability to work remotely when that ability was actually 15 years away. The only way of doing a teleconference at the time was Skype. And that was like watching, if you imagine Avatar compared to a little flick book with stickmen in it, that's the kind of comparison. So we didn't have the IT available to match up with the business ideas. Innovators, please beware. And now we could have run that business completely remotely, no issues whatsoever. At the time we couldn't, and we had to fly in and out of the UK, and it was a bit of a mare. Anyway, back to the story. The point of the story being, we went off and set up 2 completely different businesses. We had a marketing agency and a concierge business in Spain. That was terrific. That was brilliant. And we thought, you know what? This is as stable as it gets. Our clients were in the leisure and tourism industries in southern Spain and in Ibiza, and we were going to expand into the Alicante area with Barcelona and down there. And it was great, absolutely fantastic, because you can't get a business more stable than taking care of English, German, Russian tourists in Spain. You can't have a more solid business than that. COVID hit, and literally our business went from booming to dead, not even bust, just dead, in about 4 days. Boom, done, gone. And at that point we were just sort of, okay, we've done everything properly. We've got the cash flow right, we've got the industry right, we've got the client relationships right, we've got the supplier relationships right, we've got everything nailed, and poof, gone. Woof. So honestly, hand on heart, my business partner and I just kind of went, what now? And it took us, I've got to be honest, it took us probably 9 to 12 months to kind of get our heads back in the game. And that distance was actually really useful, because it enabled us to think about what is it we really connect with, what is it we really love. And in my business partner's case, in Wendy's case, her first love, it turns out, is the beauty industry. She started in the beauty industry when she was 18, and then she made the mistake of following the money and she went into marketing. She became a very, very big thing in the telecoms industry before she left and set up her own business. And she's happy as a clam. And when I was reflecting, what I realized is that what I really love, what I really enjoy, is training, doing sales training for recruitment professionals, be it contracts, temp, be it very high-end executive search. I just love the whole recruitment industry because it is sales. It's sales. You're selling to candidates, you're selling to prospects, you're selling to clients, you're doing deals all the time. Basically, there's sales, finance, IT. That's kind of it. That's the recruitment business. And I really love that. I love working with people in IT. So the outcome of this story is, yes, that's how you screw up a recruitment business. And I'll summarize it all in a second for you, summarize the lessons. But it's also a big life lesson, which is at some point you'll find what you love. Maybe you've already found what you love and left it to follow the money, or left it because people told you should do, or left it because you didn't think it would be the right thing for you, or you didn't have the right amount of confidence, or you didn't believe in yourself, or whatever. But when you find that thing that you love, grab it, hold on to it, stick to it. Because what I discovered is that, yeah, I can run, I can build, I can develop a search business. I did it. I'm not going to talk numbers, but we were doing a pretty decent amount. We made a couple of really big strategic mistakes. I'll talk about those in a second. We made a couple of really massive strategic mistakes. But in terms of search, we did all right. We screwed up in a couple of big ways. And we could have relaunched in search. But actually doing that, honestly, I'd rather leave that to you. I'd rather leave being in recruitment to you, because my skills are slightly different. What I love is researching stuff, looking at the behavioral psychology of things, understanding what works and what doesn't. I'm just passionate about that. And as a recruiter, that made me a horrible liability, because I just keep experimenting and testing and experimenting and testing, and never actually sat down and let people actually relax and get on with stuff. So let me just summarize some of the big lessons I learned from growing, crashing, rebuilding and selling my own search firm. The first lesson is, as I mentioned, starting big is not necessarily a great idea. You need to have enough business to allow you to build the infrastructure. And once you've got the infrastructure in place, then you can go hockey stick and go gangbusters. Second one is, if you're going to have a partner, make sure they are complementary to you, different to you, even directly opposite to you. You don't want to have a sort of raging internal war, but you need to be able to sharpen against each other, different opinions, different views, different ways of doing things. Third one is, cash is king. Absolutely, always. The next one is, fourth one is, market domination is great, but you need to identify when it's time to diversify. Can you dig deep and carry on ad infinitum in that sector, or do you need to go into an adjoining sector or go into a different area or a different specialism? And that was something we didn't do. That was one of our big strategic mistakes. Fifth one is that IT, tech, is not necessarily your savior. Tech is a great tool, but one of the things we did was allow it, because we were having problems with Skype and we were hopping on flights left, right and centre, we tried to systemize and automate too much. These days, it would be very easy to do what we were trying to do. Then it wasn't. Whatever situation you're in now, there'll be things that tech will allow you to do in 10 years' time that you can't do right now. Trying to fight to make tech win now when it isn't capable of doing it, that was the other big mistake. We lost a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of focus just trying to be more efficient and more advanced when we should just have stuck to phones and a database, quite frankly. The sixth mistake that we had was recognizing what's happening in your marketplace. Our clients were talking to us about their plans to consolidate. It didn't come as a surprise to us when they started buying each other like Pac-Man. That wasn't news to us. We knew it was coming and we didn't react to it. We just thought, oh, well, that just means we'll have one big customer or three big customers instead of... No. If we'd thought about it, if we'd realised the impact and the ramifications, we'd have dealt with it. And the last lesson, and this is a big one because of when I'm talking to you, when I'm recording this, we started that search business literally 1 or 2 months before the worst recession, one of the worst recessions in living history, hit the economy. It was the financial crash when all the investment banks nearly went out of business. There was very nearly no money, no cash in the cash machines. And it didn't affect us at all. Not because we're, super intelligent or, amazingly skilled, though obviously we are. It was simply the fact that we looked at it a year ahead and thought, okay, next time there is a recession, what's least likely to suffer? Recruitment, commercial insurance broking. And those two things happen to come together for us. We're going into recession now. If you're seeing this in a couple of years' time, we've been in a recession and you're probably out the far side of it. But it's not something to fear if you take the right decisions. And if you look at the recommendations, there's some previous videos I've done about just that. So those are the big lessons I had. And I'm going to give you the last lesson. And it's going to take the form of a quote from the original Top Gun movie, which is the hardest lesson, I think, for most people to learn, which was that my ego was writing checks my body couldn't cash. My ego about training our own staff, about being right about the way to do things, about knowing how to handle the clients, about everything. My ego, I could say ours, but my ego, because it's me talking, got in the way. Don't let your ego run the business. Use that. If this has been useful for you, I am thrilled, because it's a long period of my life with some, amazing highs and some really deep, dark valleys. If you've learned anything that can stop you going through the same process as me, I am thrilled. And if you can't, you're probably never going to get this chunk of your life back, but hopefully it's been a bit entertaining. Please, if you've enjoyed it, if you liked it, put a big thumbs up on the like down there, and remember to subscribe and hit the notifications. If you want to ask me any questions, please do so in the comments down there, or alternatively, if you look at the channel page, you'll see my social media links on there, and you can always get hold of me on Instagram or DM me on LinkedIn. And genuinely, if any questions you want to ask away. I will do my best to respond as fast as I possibly can. No recommendations, no downloads or anything to offer you on this video. This is just me laying a stake in the ground saying, yes, I really know search. Yes, I really know sales training. But God Almighty, I have made some horrible, horrible mistakes, which I can hopefully teach you not to. Take care, and I'll see you in the future, I hope.